The alternate history: Allies and Germany turn on the Soviet Union. The year is 1945. World War II is nearing its conclusion in Europe. The Allies have pushed the Axis powers to the brink of defeat. Nazi Germany, once a formidable force, is now a shadow of its former self, its cities in ruins, its armies shattered, and its leadership in disarray. The Soviet Union, having borne the brunt of the Eastern Front, has emerged as a dominant force, its Red Army sweeping across Eastern Europe and into Germany itself. But amidst this chaos, a controversial idea emerges, one that could alter the course of history. General George S. Patton, the fiery and outspoken American commander, suggests that the Allies join forces with what remains of Nazi Germany and turn their collective might against the Soviet Union. This essay explores the dramatic and catastrophic consequences of such a decision, predicting how the war would unfold and who would emerge victorious in this alternate timeline. Now, before we move on, please help a small channel grow. Please like and subscribe. If you have any comments, good or bad, leave them below. Back to the story. The decision to turn on the Soviets. The idea of turning on the Soviet Union was not entirely far-fetched in 1945. Despite being allies of convenience during the war, the Western powers, particularly the United States and Great Britain, had deep ideological differences with the Soviet Union. Winston Churchill, the British Prime Minister, had long been wary of Soviet expansionism, famously describing the spread of communism as an iron curtain descending across Europe. General Patton, known for his anti-communist sentiments, saw the Soviet Union as the next great threat to global stability. He argued that by allying with the remnants of Nazi Germany, the Allies could crush the Soviet Union before it became too powerful. In this alternate timeline, Patton's proposal gains traction. The Allied leadership, swayed by fears of Soviet domination and the potential for a post-war communist bloc, makes the fateful decision to turn on their former ally. The remnants of the German military, desperate for survival, agree to join forces with the Allies. This unholy alliance sets the stage for a new and even more devastating conflict. The opening moves, a two-front war. The war against the Soviet Union would begin with a series of coordinated offensives. The Western Allies, bolstered by their industrial might and technological superiority, would launch attacks from the West, while the German forces, though weakened, would provide local knowledge and manpower. The Soviet Union, caught off guard by the betrayal, would initially struggle to respond. However, the Red Army, battle-hardened and vast in number, would quickly mobilize to defend its territory. The Eastern Front, already the site of some of the bloodiest battles in human history, would become even more brutal. The Soviet Union, fighting for its very survival, would employ scorched earth tactics, destroying infrastructure and resources to deny them to the advancing Allies. The German population, already devastated by years of war, would suffer immensely as the conflict rages on. The United States, with its unmatched industrial capacity, would pour resources into the war effort. American factories would churn out tanks, planes, and weapons at an unprecedented rate. The Allied air forces, now free from the burden of fighting Germany, would unleash devastating bombing campaigns on Soviet cities and industrial centers. However, the vastness of the Soviet Union would make it difficult to achieve a decisive victory. The nuclear wildcard. By mid-1945, the United States would possess a game-changing weapon, the atomic bomb. In this alternate timeline, the decision to use nuclear weapons against the Soviet Union would become a pivotal moment. The first target would likely be a major Soviet city, such as Moscow or Stalingrad. The psychological impact of such an attack would be immense, but the Soviet Union, with its vast territory and decentralized industry, would not be easily crippled. The Soviet Union, aware of the potential for nuclear warfare, would accelerate its own nuclear program. With the help of captured German scientists and espionage, the Soviets would likely develop their own atomic bomb within a few years. The war would then escalate into a nuclear standoff, with both sides possessing the capability to inflict catastrophic damage. The human cost of this alternate war would be staggering. Millions of soldiers and civilians would perish in the fighting. The Eastern Front, already a graveyard for millions, would see even greater carnage. The use of nuclear weapons would result in unprecedented destruction, with entire cities reduced to rubble and millions more killed or displaced. The moral implications of allying with Nazi Germany would also weigh heavily on the Allies. The atrocities committed by the Nazis, including the Holocaust, would make such an alliance deeply controversial. The Allied leadership would face intense scrutiny and condemnation, both domestically and internationally. The outcome: who would win? Predicting the outcome of such a conflict is fraught with uncertainty. The Soviet Union, with its vast resources and population, would be a formidable opponent. The Red Army, though initially caught off guard, would likely adapt to the new threat and mount a fierce resistance. The harsh Russian winters, which had defeated Napoleon and Hitler, would once again play a crucial role in slowing the Allied advance. The United States, with its industrial might and nuclear arsenal, would have a significant advantage. However, the logistical challenges of fighting a war on such a vast scale would be immense. The Allied forces would face supply shortages, stretched communication lines, and the difficulty of coordinating with their German allies. In the end, the war would likely result in a stalemate. The Soviet Union, though battered, would be too large and resilient to be completely defeated. The Allies, despite their technological and industrial advantages, would struggle to achieve a decisive victory. The conflict would drag on for years, resulting in unimaginable destruction and loss of life. Conclusion: a catastrophic decision. The decision to turn on the Soviet Union, as suggested by General Patton, would have been a catastrophic mistake. The war would have escalated into a prolonged and devastating conflict, with no clear winner. The use of nuclear weapons would have resulted in unprecedented destruction, and the human cost would have been unimaginable. The moral implications of allying with Nazi Germany would have tarnished the legacy of the Allies and undermined their credibility on the world stage. In the end, the world would have been left in ruins, with no nation emerging as a true victor. The lessons of this alternate history serve as a stark reminder of the dangers of ideological extremism and the importance of diplomacy and cooperation in preventing global conflict. Please like and subscribe.